Hi, it's Courtney again, back with more movie suggestions for you to enjoy on Halloween. All of these today are actual horror films, so they probably will not be suitable for children unless they're 13 or older. So, I have one that's kind of tame that they might be able to watch because it doesn't really have a lot of blood and gore, but it does have a lot of kind of disturbing moments. And it's the first one that I'm going to start off with. And it is the movie Ghost Story. So I'm sorry about my lighting situation. It's not really the best in my room. But it's based, sorry about that, something in my eye. It's based on the novel by Peter Straub that I have in my collection. And I found the movie before I got the book, but Stephen King talked about this a lot in his book Danse Macabre. If Stephen King likes it, of course, I'm gonna give it a try. But so it's a film from 1980. It's rated R, mostly for language. There's a little bit of nudity in it, now that I think about it. So a little bit of nudity, a little bit of language, mostly like disturbing scenes because it's a 1980s kind of ghost story. So it's a little more tame than slashers. But it's about a group of men, and they're all played by classic Hollywood actors: Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and John Houseman. They are members of a society called the Chowder Society. They've known each other for their entire lives, and they get together and they tell scary stories to each other. And one of the members of the society, Douglas Fairbanks Jr.'s character, he has two sons. They're twins, and one of them gets murdered before he's supposed to get married, and his brother comes back to town for his funeral. His brother Don, and it concerns a woman that the members of the society knew a long time ago, named Ava Galley, and she's played by Alice Creed. To most Star Trek fans, she's the Borg Queen, but she is very creepy in this movie. I don't want to give a lot of it away because it's one of those films that I really think you should watch. But the past of the society members and Don's brother, they're all connected together. And the atmosphere is chilling. The music it's effective. It's a very creepy story, and you have to like pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, some of the, I guess, jump scares are gonna come out at you at nowhere, and you'll probably freak out a little bit. But it's chilling, and it's just a good film. And I wouldn't watch it with the lights off at night alone by yourself, because it will kind of maybe freak you and creep you out a little bit. It kind of did it to me, but it's a really good movie, and I don't want to spoil too much of it. So there's also the book if you don't want to watch the movie, or you can read the book then watch the movie then read the book. It's whatever you want to do, but it's a really good film. Next up is Pin. It's based on a book by Andrew Niederman, who is now the ghostwriter of V.C. Andrews' novels, hired by the estate of her family after she passed away. But he's an author in his own right, and Pin's based on one of his books, and it's directed by Sandor Stern. He also directed the Amityville Horror, the first one, and it's got Terry O'Quinn in it from The Stepfather and Lost, and Cindy Preston. The best way that I know her is she played Faith on General Hospital, but for people that are more, probably the same age as me, she was actually the voice of Princess Zelda in the Legend of Zelda cartoons that used to be on the Super Mario Brothers show. Yeah, I'm such a geek that I know that, but that's who she is. And the main star is David Hewlett. David Hewlett and Cindy Preston play Leon and Ursula Linden, and their father is a very strict person, and he's a doctor, and he uses this anatomical dummy to teach his kids about life and death and sex and everything. And they call the dummy Pin. It's short for Pinocchio, because Pinocchio was a little wooden boy that came alive. So the father uses ventriloquism to make it seem like Pin can talk, and so that's kind of creepy and freaky. But as life kind of goes on for their kids, when they get older, their parents die in an accident, and Leon begins to form a very kind of unhealthy relationship with Pin, and still treats him like he's alive and he's real. And I think Ursula wants to start to try to have her own life away from her brother, and she starts a relationship, and it's just a very creepy atmosphere for this movie. And David Hewlett plays Leon really well, actually believing that this guy is going crazy. So it's got kind of a twist ending that I don't want to spoil. It's a really good movie to watch, and you can find the book too on Amazon. Again, so if you're more into reading books before you see the movies, or seeing the movie and then reading the book, that's a good one. But yeah, Andrew Niederman, besides ghostwriting V.C. Andrews novels, he also wrote the book that's the basis for the movie The Devil's Advocate, with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino in it. That's another good movie. So he's got a lot of novels out there. They're older ones, a couple newer ones, but this is a really, really creepy movie. So, and like I said, it's got kind of a twist ending to it. So I recommend seeing this movie. And next is the movie Tamara, and it stars Jenna Dewan in it. And I kind of looked on the back just a little bit to see if there's any kind of information that I can glean on it. But yeah, it's rated R. It's from 2005. And yeah, I guess you could kind of say that it's kind of almost like a Carrie ripoff, but it's kind of, a little different. And it has, like I said, it has Jenna Dewan as Tamara. In the beginning, she's kind of a mousy, kind of geeky girl, and she writes an article for the school newspaper that talks about the jocks using steroids and performance-enhancing drugs. So they decide to pull a prank on her by pretending that a teacher that she has a crush on invites her to a motel, and they film they film it, and they humiliate her. So, but what they don't know is that Tamara has been delving into witchcraft to, try to get her teacher that she has a crush on to, love her. And it's also kind of thinly implied that she's using witchcraft to keep his wife from having kids. So it's kind of twisted, but they don't realize that by when they humiliate her, they they kind of kill her, and apparently she has a spell on her person that when they kill her, she hits her head and there's a bunch of blood, and then they bury her, and apparently she needed the blood to finish this spell that she was working on. And she comes back, and she's like super sexy. It's like kind of like she's done like a She's All That kind of transformation, but she's turned like really, sexy, and her whole attitude has changed. So I don't know if it's implied that it's not really her, that it's maybe like a demon or a succubus that is like taken over her body as part of the spell, kind of almost like Jennifer's body in a way. But so she comes back, and she decides, of course, to take out her revenge on the people responsible for her death. And so yeah, it's kind of a Carrie ripoff, and it was before Jennifer's Body, so it's not really a ripoff of that. But it's actually a pretty good movie. There are some scenes in it that are actually kind of disturbing. I won't give away too much of it, but since she delved in to witchcraft, she kind of has the power to control people's minds, and she kind of uses that to kind of mess with the kids that humiliated her. And some of the scenes are kind of, like I said, disturbing. So I kind of recommend that you not eat before you watch this movie, and I recommend that you not eat while you're watching this movie, because there are a couple of scenes that are kind of ugh. So but yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I liked it. It's let's see, is there anything really important to kind of share about it? Just looking on the back to see if there's anything else that's interesting. Nope. Nope, not really. But yeah, I think it's a good film. So if you kind of like films like Carrie or Jennifer's Body, I'd recommend watching this movie. It's pretty good, actually. Okay, another movie that I have. This one's kind of one that was kind of hard for me to find for a while. I'm not sure if they just if people order it, they make it to print. But this is Spellbinder. I'm trying to get the camera to get this in a better light. Okay, it's called Spellbinder, and it stars a younger Kelly Preston and Tim Daly and Rick Rossovich. I guess Rick Rossovich probably best be remembered as being Dr. Taglieri on ER, and he was also in Top Gun. He was a bodybuilder turned actor. And let's see. But the reason this kind of movie is hard to find is I heard a rumor a long time ago that Kelly Preston and John Travolta kind of don't want this movie released very much, because of course it's early in Kelly Preston's career, so it involves a little bit of nudity on her part, but it also involves witchcraft and Satanism, I guess. So that's probably kind of where they don't want it out, being Scientologist. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of a rumor that I heard. But because I saw it on YouTube one time and it looked interesting, and then of course it was edited for, you know, the nudity, and I think, you know, copyright claims kept taking it down. So I eventually just decided, well, I'm going to get on Amazon and see if I can find this movie, because it's interesting. But what it is, it has Tim Daly. He's an attorney, and as he and his friend are going home one night, they see this man threatening this young woman. So Jeff, Tim Daly's character, stops the guy from beating on her, and he finds out that her name is Miranda, and he takes her home, you know, to stay at his place, and he learns that she used to be part of a coven of witches, and she ran away to escape them because apparently she's supposed to be a sacrifice later in one of their rituals, and she tries to get away, and I guess they found her, and so she stays with Jeff's character, and mysterious things start happening, you know, around him, and it's got a very, you know, very terrifying kind of atmosphere, and it's got a twist ending too that I didn't really suspect it, but once it happened, I was like, yeah, I could see this happening. But so of course, like I said, it's got a little bit of nudity in it, and it deals with like witchcraft and you know, Satan. So it's that kind of movie, and of course it's rated R. And but it's a good movie. I think Kelly Preston and Tim Daly do really well acting in this movie, and yeah, it's a good film. So I'd recommend watching it. And then I've got two more I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about my favorite one out of this bunch last. But the next one is another movie that a lot of people probably wouldn't have heard of. It's from like the early generation of slasher movies, and it's called Eyes of a Stranger. Get it out of the light so you can see it a little bit better. Alright, I think I got it. And it stars, I think it's Lauren Tews. She was on The Love Boat. She plays a reporter talking about this serial killer that's going around and stalking young women, and he, before he kills them, he calls them on the phone and, you know, rapes them before he kills them. And I think the killer sees her reporting about him on TV and decides to start, you know, stalking her into her life. And then instead of stalking the reporter, he goes after the reporter's sister. And the reporter's sister, Tracy, is played by a young Jennifer Jason Leigh from Single White Female and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. This is actually her first movie that she was in. And her character is deaf, so she cannot hear. She is blind, so she cannot see. And she's mute, so she cannot talk. And so I was like really impressed with Jennifer Jason Leigh that she can pull off this role where she's basically like a deaf, dumb mute. And she's being stalked by this killer that does terrible things to women. And, you know, and her sister is a reporter, so she's not home all the time. So this girl is left home alone all the time and has to learn everything around her. And there's some creepy guy in the shadows watching her, and she doesn't know it. Following her, and she cannot hear him. And if he attacks her, she can't scream for help. So, like I said, it's one of like the early slashers in the 80s, and it got edited a lot. This version that I have is rated R. So, and also, so it had to be edited a lot. A lot of early 80s horror movies had to go through lots of cuts and stuff, mostly like My Bloody Valentine. It was after the assassination of John Lennon that they decided that horror movies shouldn't be as, bloody and, disgusting about, killers going around and killing innocent people. So, movies like that were heavily edited or picketed and stuff. And Tom Savini actually does the effects in this movie. Tom Savini, great horror effects legend. He's up there with, Rick Baker. And, so they had to cut a lot of stuff in this movie around that time. But it's an unnerving kind of movie. And you kind of feel a little, I don't know, I guess a little dirty watching it, but it's not like kind of grimy like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, but you still feel kind of, like your skin crawls, and, it's creepy because, like I said, it's about a killer ultimately going after this young girl who, she's got 3 of her 5 senses completely taken away from her. So it's kind of chilling in that regard. And it's one of my newer movies that I've acquired, because I just always look up different horror and thriller and slasher movies that I've never seen before. And the last one I talked about, I actually have it from the Criterion collection, which makes it a double disc with lots of special edition features, but it is Don't Look Now, with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie in it. And it's based off a story by Daphne du Maurier, who wrote the story based on, what The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock and Rebecca. So, but it's about a married couple. They have 2 children. They have a daughter and a son, and their little girl ends up drowning and dying. So they go off to Venice, and he's an architect, to kind of get away, and their son's away at boarding school, and they're just trying to, get away and kind of rebuild their relationship, because after their daughter's death, they kind of drift apart a little bit. So even though they're there for his job, they try to go out to dinner and try to rekindle their romance. And while they are there are a bunch of murders going around in the city. Bodies being found in, the canals, and so they're there at a very kind of wrong time, kind of, right place, because Venice is a beautiful city. So right place, wrong time, to try to, rebuild their relationship, which is kind of torn apart after the death of their child. And the father, Donald Sutherland, starts seeing images of a figure running around in a little red raincoat, which is what his daughter was wearing when she drowned. So he thinks that maybe he's kind of going crazy after, the grief of his daughter's death. And his wife ends up meeting these 2 older ladies, and one of them is blind, and she kind of has, like, visions. And I guess she is kind of almost like a medium, too, where she says that, she can talk to their dead daughter, and, let them know, that she's, still around. So the mother gets really into believing that the spirit of their child is around, but the father's kind of like, no, it's not possible. But then he keeps seeing, like, figure in the red raincoat running over the city. And but the music and the cinematography in this movie it's just the best. And it focuses on a lot of red and blues and like colors like the stained glass windows in the buildings of Venice. And like I said, of course, the color red is really apparent through the scenery. And then of course, it's Venice, so of course it's beautifully shot, and it's dramatic and it's haunting, and you really feel for Julie Christie and Donald Sutherland's characters, because they've lost their child. They're trying to rekindle their romance, even though he's working, and then when they think they're over their daughter being gone, circumstances happen where they can't let go and they can't move on about their daughter being dead. And it's another one of those films that kind of has a shocking twist ending. So I don't want to spoil that for you. But of course I love Donald Sutherland, and because he's also in another one of my favorite horror movies, which is the 1978 remake version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's really good in that movie too. Kind of has like the same hairstyle too, curly hair and a mustache. But I know a lot of people say that he's kind of one of those actors that's kind of hard to get along with. I don't know if it was the case around then, but I believe him as a grieving father trying to piece together what little bit of his sanity that he has left. And his wife's kind of also, her sanity's kind of in question too, because she really is the one that can't let go. But and I like Julie Christie in this movie. I think she's a good actress. Of course, it doesn't really have a rating on here. I would say that it's a 1973 movie, so there is blood in it. There is nudity in it because there is a sex scene between Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie in here that a lot of people rumor that it actually is them and not body doubles. I'm not really sure what to believe, but it's nothing really raunchy. It's done in a way in this movie where, like I said, it's a couple who's lost their child, and it's put a wedge in their relationship, and they're trying to work out their relationship. So it's kind of more beautiful than it is smutty or overly disgusting. But yeah, this is a really good movie. I like most horror movies of the 70s because the atmosphere is always filled with tension, and it's always beautifully shot. And like I said, it's not like a slasher movie, so it doesn't depend on a lot of blood and gore and nudity and foul language. But the gore and the nudity that's in this movie is appropriate for what is going on. But excellent movie. If you can get the Criterion Collection with all these special edition features on it, then it's worth it. It really is. But you can also get just a regular single disc DVD of it. But yep. So this is probably the last bit of movies that I'm going to talk about for about a week while my husband is on vacation. So it's probably going to be about a week before I come back. But I'll be working on maybe a couple of other things. I'm working right now on another playlist of music for my channel, and I also have worked on what I call my Halloween party playlist. It's about 80 something songs that will put you in the mood for Halloween as well. I'll put a description, a link in my description for this video of where you can find it. And until I see you next time, have a good day, have a good weekend, and I'll be back with more movie suggestions for Halloween, and probably up until maybe like the day before Halloween, I will have some suggestions for you. Many movies as I can get through, I will talk about. So until next time, have a nice day.